Hey YouTube, this is My All American Life, and today I'm going to talk to you about getting your first pipeline job or getting hired on a pipeline company in general. Now, for you guys that are new and have never worked on the pipeline before, there's quite a few ways you can go about it. If you're like me, you don't have any family members that have worked in the pipeline industry before, so you don't know anything about it, alright? You've heard guys talking, or you've heard maybe somebody from your high school or college went out and worked, or maybe, you just ran into a guy on the street and you asked him, what's on the back of your truck? And that may have got your interest piqued into working in the pipeline as a helper or a laborer. Now, there's many ways you can go about trying to get hired on. But I'll tell you what I did for my first job. If you don't know anybody, obviously the easiest way is to talk to a welder or somebody that already works on the pipeline, such as a foreman or a superintendent, or just your Uncle Jack, who, works as a labor hand off in North Dakota. Alright? They will have numbers and be able to get connections, and if they like you, they sure as heck can help you out. But if you don't know anybody, the second easiest thing that you can do is just go online and then find your state. Well, I wouldn't say find your state because pipelines aren't everywhere. But the major states that they're going to be in is Oklahoma, Texas, North Dakota. Going to have some in Colorado and Kansas. But then you're going to have like West Virginia and Pennsylvania. Those are your big areas that are going to have it. So, type in that state name, and then just type in pipeline companies. It's real simple. It's actually how I found my first job. So, I was working, at this camp or whatever, and working, and my interest was piqued in the pipeline industry about welding. I welded a little bit in high school, but obviously not like pipeline welders do. So I kind of knew what the pipeline was, but I had no information on it. But I knew I wanted to make that money, because that money's good, and when it's good, it's great. So I knew that I wanted to make that money. Had no experience, didn't know really anything about the pipeline, so I typed in Oklahoma pipeline companies. There came up a list right on that Google search where it has the maps and it has the list. And so I found the number for each one, wrote them all down, names of the companies, took the phone and started calling. And I talked to a few people, and they all said they'd pass on my number to the foreman or the superintendent, and if they were hiring, they'd let me know. Well, I didn't get a call back for a couple hours, but around 11 o'clock, I got a call back from a company, a little small outfit, and they weren't paying very much. They were only paying $12.60, which is really low end for pipeline work. But it was a chance to get my foot in the door. Whenever you have a chance to get your foot in the door, do it. Alright? So I hired in as a welder helper. And I wound up helping on my first day a whopping 0 hours. Alright? I got up in there. What wound up happening is I called them on, I believe it was a Monday. Yeah, it was a Monday. And the next day just so happened to be my birthday. And the guy on the phone said, if you can be here at 7 o'clock in the morning, I will hire you. So do you know where I was at 6:30? I was sitting in that yard waiting for the guy to show up. I was there before him. So I got there, got hired in, took the drug test, did a small little safety training, got out to the pipeline. They said, all right, who's the helpers and who's the labor hands? Well, it was just me and another boy that hired in as helpers that got out there. Everybody else went to a different job site. And everybody just chuckled and they started laughing. They said, you guys don't know it yet, but you're labor hands. And so we went to work. And I tell you, that was the hardest working day of my life, ever. Was on my birthday, the day I hired in on my first pipeline job. I did not have good working boots. I say that, they actually are good working boots. But I had just bought them the night before. And just a little pro tip. Before you go on your first day working, about a week before, go buy you a pair of good steel-toed boots and wear them everywhere for about a week. I don't care if they don't match your clothes or whatever. Go put them on. Go to Walmart, go do something. Drive around in them. Just wear them because you're going to be miserable your first day. It was 100 and something degrees, sweating, and when your shoes don't fit right, you're walking around, especially in like dirt and sand, it's just not going to be a good thing for anybody. It's going to be miserable, and you're going to feel it the next couple days. So I got hired in as a helper, but I went and started working as a labor hand. Well, I asked the foreman every day, when do you think the chance is going to be a welder, helper? When do you think it's going to be a helper? Because I wanted to weld. I wanted to learn to weld, and I wanted, plus the helper's got just a little bit easier sometimes when it comes to working. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So what I wound up doing is I asked and I asked and asked, and well, one day, 3 weeks later, they came over and the superintendent came up to me. The man didn't really, I don't know if he ever liked anybody, but there was too many labor hands around the bending crew. And he says, all right, what are you doing? And it was just me. I was holding a tag line, we're moving the pipe. And he said, there's a welder up there that needs some help. Go help him. So I went up there and I helped him. And I've been helping ever since. Now that if you have called around and nobody calls you back, the next thing you can do is whenever you see a truck with a welder on the back that might look like this, or this, at like a gas station, just go up to him and ask, say, hey, are you a pipeline welder? Or if not, what type of welder are you? And how can I get in the industry? I really would love to be a helper or a laborer, and I would love any contacts you may have. Ask for his name, his number. Sit there and talk. They don't mind talking as long as they're not in a hurry. As a matter of fact, sometimes good helpers are hard to come by, or they may need a helper themselves and they're ready to get one, or they may know somebody that needs a helper. So most of the time they'll take your number, they'll take your name, and they'll spread the word around. And it may be a day, it may be the next day, and you'll get a call. That's just one way to get your foot in the door into a pipeline job. Now, keeping your job is another matter, alright? When it comes to keeping a job, you need to keep your mouth shut and always to go above and beyond, alright? And what I mean by this is, if you're sitting around, you're doing something wrong, alright? What you need to be doing is you need to be cleaning out that rod bucket, or you need to be cleaning your tools or something, alright? There's no reason you should ever be being waited on, alright? If they have to wait on you, you ain't going to keep your job. You should always work hard and go above and beyond. Now, I'm a white guy, but I take pride in my 3 weeks as a labor hand. I was working with a couple other Mexican guys, and Mexican guys are notorious for being hard workers. Used to be notorious for hard workers. A lot of them are still good hard workers. But the 3 weeks that I was a labor hand, there was 6 guys. 2 was hired one day, 4 was hired another, that hired on. And they were all ethnicities that hired on and did not come back for their second day. because it is hard work. But do your best, alright? Do your best. And make a hand out of yourself, and it won't be hard to keep a job. But like I said, I take kind of pride in myself because I was out working. I wouldn't say everybody, because there's always going to be somebody better than you. But I was out working 95% of those other guys on the pipeline. Because I wanted to learn, and I wanted to keep my job, and I didn't want to get fired. Right? Now that you got your job, you're keeping your job, you're doing good, there might be some other reasons you might leave a company. Alright? And you might leave for the fact that better pay. Like I was making $12 and $60 on my first company I worked for. The second company I worked for, I made $16 and $100 because I called around a little bit. I knew they were making better money out there, and I become good at my job, and I didn't want to be, making that such small money when I knew there was people out there that was a lot worse than I was, making a lot better money. So I called around a few times and never anything heard out of it. Well, maybe a month goes by after I started inquiring, and I get a random call from a guy that I don't even remember talking to, but he remembered me, and he took my name and my number, and he hired me on, and that's where I went for better pay. Now, when you go to another company, you better go and make sure that they're going to have work for you. Because you may do what I wound up just doing on this last company, going, working. They say they got all these jobs, and then they're not going to lay anybody off. The next thing you know, it's 3 weeks later, you've not ever stepped foot on a job site, and they're starting to lay people off. If they ain't going to put you to work for more than a couple weeks, go find a different company. Now, it's in the winter time. This is February. It's a little bit harder. But around the end of March, beginning of April, it's going to kick off, alright? If you can hang in till then, you can find a job anywhere. But in the winter time, it slows down. So it's a lot harder to find another job. And the reason companies might start laying you off, or you might not be working, is the fact that gas companies are holding their money back for taxes, or they're really not ready to start any new projects in the wintertime. It's costs companies a lot more to work in the wintertime because you can get a lot done. You get a lot less done, and it costs a lot more labor for pay. So it costs companies to keep you working. And all around, the companies are better to make money, so they don't want to lose their money. They want to save as much as they can. And that's the way that they do it is they don't really work in the wintertime. And so they may start laying you off. But if you got a chance to go somewhere else, if it's a lot less, like say you're making $16 and $100, and there's another place where you can make $13.75, don't go, I ain't making that amount of money. That's nothing. Well, $13.75 or $12 and $60 is a hell of a lot better than nothing. Alright? So, in my case, I'm job searching now. And what I've done is I went to a yard. That's another way you can find a job. Is if you know there's a company that will be hiring soon, what you can always do is go to that yard early in the morning, about 6:30, show up and talk to people. Just talk. That's all you got to do. You got to BS. You got to be a politician, but talk. Get people's names, learn something about them, talk to them about your experience, what you've done, and tell them you're interested in work. They may put you to work the first day. Now, there's a company and outfit that I've been going to. This is my third day going. I went there Tuesday, and on Tuesday, I talked to the superintendent, and the superintendent said they were hiring some guys, but they only hire on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I showed up on a Tuesday. So my best bet would be come back in the morning and stand outside and talk to the foremans and see if a foreman would pick me up. So I came back on Wednesday. The roads were iced over. I had to put in four-wheel drive just to drive 30 mile an hour on the highway, but I got there. I wasn't taking any chances. I got there, ready to work, dressed in my outfit, ready to go. FR's on and everything, still towed, hard hat, ready to go. Gonna talk to some guys, hopefully get hired on. Nobody was there. Everybody was gone. So, there was a few guys there, and they said come back tomorrow. It's Thursday. We don't hire on Thursdays, but all the guys are supposed to hire on Wednesday will be here. So I showed up today, and that's when I learned that to talk to foremen, you got to be there before 6. So about 5:30 to BS me a politician. Now every company's different. Most places start at 7. For this company, all their higher-ups and all their foremans and all their straw bosses get together at 6 in the morning for a meeting. So, I gotta go back tomorrow and try again. Just keep going back and keep trying again. If you get there and they say no, the worst thing you can do is come back. Alright? Matter of fact, that might be the best thing you can do is come back. Because they see you coming back, they know you're ready to work. They know you're willing to work. And they're going to put you to work eventually, especially if they have a job slot open. And especially if they know you want to work, and they got a jack over here that ain't doing nothing. Everybody's replaceable. And you can replace him just as well as he can replace you. So I'm going back tomorrow. And I'm going to talk to him. And if that doesn't work out, I'm going to start calling welders from the other companies I've worked with. And I'm going to start talking to them, seeing if they need a helper. And if they don't need a helper, I'll call my other weld bosses that I know. And I'll see if they need a helper. But basically everything I told you is how you find a job, you keep a job, if you get laid off, how you find another job. It's the basics of it. And I'll try to come up with some more information for you guys at a later date. Maybe next week. We could always talk about PPE. We could always talk about, how to be a good helper. We could talk about how to be a good labor hand. We could talk about tips, tricks of the trade. Just put down in the comment section what you want to know, and I'll address everything as I can get to it. One thing I do have to add, though, on the end there, now that I thought about it, is once you get your first job, don't spend your first paycheck like crazy. Don't make any major purchases, and don't get in debt. Don't go buy a new pickup. That is the most retarded thing you can do. Now, if you're driving an old, tiny, crappy car, and you get a first check that's decent size, I'm not saying don't spend your money, but that car will last you another paycheck. Get a little bit more money saved up, and then go get you a pickup. It don't even have to be four-wheel drive. It just has to be an old beater that when it's on the right of way, if it gets hit, it's not going to be an issue if it gets hit by a tractor. Alright? Don't go wasting your money. Don't go spending your money. And basically, you just remember your 3 D's with your money. Don't do dumb. Alright? And you'll be alright. And this is the end for me, and I gotta say, peace out, Girl Scout.